1997. Banks Gibson's prisoners are buried in the prison cemetery. Old Man Long says that these poor devils have been sitting with him since 1932. And now they were burned during the fire and finally freed. 1930, to the Spanky Club. Ray Gibson begged the guard to come inside. Claude Banks and his girlfriend were already resting there. They are celebrating Claude's new job as a bank teller. The man went to the toilet, and there two big guys attacked him. He owed their boss $50. So far, they have raked $22 out of his pockets. And this is half of his salary. And now he will have nothing to pay in the restaurant. Ray also went to the toilet. The fraudster introduced himself to Claude's classmates. But he immediately saw through it. Well, it's not scary, the pickpocket has already managed to steal his wallet. But it's already empty. And Ray himself will be pressured for robbing Banks' clients. It's time for Claude to pay the bill, but alas, there is nothing. Both perpetrators were brought to the docks. Ray calms the banker down. They say that they will only break his finger for an unpaid bill. But Claude talks too much, and now they're going to drown him. Ray is trying to save his skin and the life of an unlucky banker. He promises to deliver a batch of excellent whiskey from out of state. But he needs a second driver. And he chooses Claude, who has almost drowned, as a partner. In the car, Claude is sulking at the crook. His plans are going to hell, and he's also laughing at his position. They say that women usually work at the cash register. Ray himself dreams of opening his own club. Perhaps in the future, it will be Claude, who will give him a loan for it. And he will leave his late father's watch as collateral. After reaching Mississippi, the partners went to a local cafe, not noticing the inscription entrance only for whites. How do you know my name is Billy? It's written on your shirt. Claude again can't hold his tongue and leave, as Ray advises. He demands that they still be sold a pie and coffee. But Claude became much clearer when the lady took out a gun from behind the counter. On the spot, Skinny loaded the goods into the car. Ray has paid, but is in no hurry to get back out. He wants to have fun in a local pub. We have to join the Lod. While the lady is hoeing him, Ray sat down at the table to play poker. He made fun of the redneck until the stakes reached as much as $10. He has nothing to answer with. But the scoundrel does not intend to stop either. So he puts his father's watch on the line. And he lost, and the gambler immediately left the institution. Ray saw that there were cards taped to the ashtray. The waitress was in league with the cheater. Ray was just dumped. But the Kenman Hancock has not gone far. He was surrounded by white cops led by Sheriff Pike. But we agreed that you would get out of here. Yes, I was, and I was going to, Sheriff Pike. But your wife begged me to stay. Han began to fight back, injured the sheriff, and thereby signed his death sentence. Clot came down from above. He gave the prostitute $2, which he left as an inviolable reserve for gasoline. Now they were left with absolutely no money and no idea how to get back. Suddenly, Hancock's bloody corpse fell on Claude. Ray, without thinking twice, began to rummage through his pockets in search of a watch. And at that moment, the losers were discovered by a redneck with a gun. They were immediately thrown behind bars. Claude blames Ray for what happened. Now he will definitely be late for work on Monday. The sheriff came into the station and pretended to be surprised to learn that Hancock had been killed. These two were transporting 36 cases of swill. But these are trifles compared to cold-blooded murder. How lucky these two dark-skinned guys turned up to him. Naturally, he doesn't care about their words that they just came across a body. The partners hope that they will be believed in court, but the reality has upset them. For life, your mother. And now, the poor guy is already being taken to the Mississippi State Prison. All prisoners are black, and work hard every day. There are no fences, but there is a line of fire that begins behind the buildings. Whoever crosses it will be shot immediately. Sergeant Dillard is in charge here, and his right hand is Bob the Jumper. In the barracks, the newcomers were met with unkind looks. From the next day, our heroes had to swing picks to the drop. Claude, as always, defends his rights and declares that he is not going to work in such heat. Dillard punished the impudence from New York, and was glad to know that they were here on a permanent basis. Although, if anything, he is always ready to cut down their time. Except for our heroes, no one can read. One guy named Poker Face has been keeping a letter for 4 months, and doesn't even know who it's from. Anyway, this is a letter from my mom's neighbor. A cousin died. And a cousin. And my own sister died. And the second one died too. Both in general. And the whole crop froze. And at the end it is also written that his father and mother died during a terrible tornado. Thank you very much. You're welcome. At any time. Maybe someone else should read something. A strange guy sat down with Claude. The cashier is lying that he has already been in prison many times. Well then, you're not used to it, says the chimney sweep, licking his lips and stroking Claude's hand. The jumper pulled him down so that he would not frame the newcomers while working. Now I would not feel for myself why the man is called a chimney sweep. Claude annoys all the convicts. He cleans the bread for the whole dining room from Harry, then he is dissatisfied with a dirty spoon. Ray meets the silent Willie Long. He's been here for 13 years. Someone was beaten with a claw hammer. Bespectacled cut down his sister with an axe. The cupcake in the bonnet poisoned the parents. Biscuit skinned the ant. And Poker Face killed Santa Claus. I had to lie to my comrades that they were the ones. More butchers. Suddenly, a mutant named Golden Mouth turned to them and asked Claude for his cornbread. He doesn't mind, but Ray gets a simpleton that you can't give away your food, otherwise the big guy will sit on his neck. Then I'll eat your bread, the Golden Mouth threatened in a hollow voice. Ray was rude in response, and it all ended in a fight on the street. The big guy knocks the whole soul out of Ray, and he doesn't seem to feel his blows. The big guy beat up the impudent New Yorker and took him to the barracks. The date day came, and the same mutant son came to the Golden Mouth. Claude was visited by his girlfriend Daisy. It's a pity you can only retire with a married couple. But Dillard is willing to make an exception for taking a bribe from Daisy's wallet. Ray tells everyone what a cool club he will have on the loose. At the retreat house, Daisy asks if Ray needs to be appealed as well, or just him. Of course not, because it's all Ray's fault. And even without him, Claude has a better chance of being released. Meanwhile, Ray himself is already planning an escape. They drew him a map. Only Claude cuts it off without me. At night, Ray tells fictional stories related to his club. Claude is boring that it's all a lie. But the others killed him. After all, they so want to imagine themselves free, having fun in this club. But then the cops burst into the place, led by a jumper. He demanded that everyone shut up and go to sleep. A letter came to Claude from a lawyer, and he tells Ray that this does not concern him. The jumper chastises the pebbles. Their number is equal to the number of prisoners who were brought to work. After reading the letter, Claude suddenly wanted to run away with himself. With Ray. It turned out that the appeal was rejected, and Daisy fell in love with the lawyer, his cousin Melvin. They even managed to get engaged. But Ray is being mean, and refuses to take Claude with him. It ended in a fight. A jumper also got into the batch, and for good reason, the shopkeeper Ray pulled from him. His 2 pebbles. It was only at night that the guards discovered that the New Yorkers had escaped and set off in pursuit. It turned out that the map is a fiction. It was drawn by Ray himself so that Claude would agree to run with him. That's just where to run is unclear. And soon the fugitives were caught. They were taken to the warden of the Obernati prison. His daughter came up with a punishment for a week in the punishment cell. Local punishment cells are reinforced wooden toilets. 1944. It's been 12 years. Gillard tells the next batch of newcomers about the firing line. One of the prisoners was a dumb fool named Straw. What was the use of Claude? He understood baseball and made every effort for his team to win at another camp. Ray advises giving the bat to Straw. And he launches the ball into the sky. The second blow is no worse than the first. Abernathy's daughter May Rose has grown up, and all the prisoners are drooling over her. A stand blocker who runs a baseball league for blacks has arrived at the camp. He wants to see a talented straw batter. Mayrose also looks at him. Claude asks him not to stare at the blonde and focus on the blow. And the guy didn't let me down. Friends call themselves straw mentors and are sure that they can be pulled out of jail, as well as a talented slugger. As the blocker hinted to them earlier. But here's the thing. Soon Meru got pregnant and gave birth, and the baby turned out to be black. Now Abernathy is trying to figure out the father of the defective grandson. To distract the boss from the straw, everyone came forward and declared that he was the father of the toddler. Leaving, Mayrose waved a sad straw pen. And the prisoners never saw Bernardi and his family again. Cupcake found out that he was going to be released soon and was upset. What should he do there like this? What will he tell the family? He won't be able to hide his essence. In desperation, Cupcake ran behind the line. The sniper on the tower took it down with an accurate shot. Only the chimney sweep approached the body of his lover. The blogger beat out a release for Straw, but only for him. Ray and Claude remain. They're useless anyway. Claude's plan failed, and Ray started talking about escaping again. Not far behind the barn, someone saw a plane. Surely it's not so difficult to manage it. But Claude has already accepted that they will die here. He freaks out and says that he and Ray have never been friends. They're just hanging out here together. Since they met, his life has turned into hell. And they decided never to talk to each other again. Years passed. Poker Face and PowerPoint have died. Ray got to the plane, but immediately fell and crashed. The golden mouths, the radio and the chimney sweep have gone to another world. The jumper was also gone. 1972. Another 28 years have passed. Claude and Ray are still not talking. One day, Claude freaked out and ran over the line, just to gorge himself on a hot pie. For this, Dillard put it on the bottle. Comfortable. A pair of soft homemade hats. He wanted to leave Ray to keep an eye on the culprit. If Claude gets off the bottles, he will need to be shot with a gun. And then the warden will let him go free. But Ray would rather take down Dillard himself. For such an audacious answer, he was put next to him. And then, for the first time in all these years, Claude turned to Ray. Like, he would have shot him for sure. The old farts immediately started grumbling at each other. Claude says he is sorry that Maitreya died. However, this happened 5 years ago. But they didn't talk then. Dillard informs his comrades that they are being transferred to the house of Warden Wilkins. Claude performs the duties of a house worker, and Ray was made a gardener. The latter does not like that his partner has become friends with the old jailer. Claude was probably up to something. He is even trusted to pick up a new supervisor from the station by car. You know I trust you, Claude. Yes, sir. I'll be back soon. Claude is among people for the first time in 40 years, and sees how the world has changed over the years. Sad, he looks at his aged reflection. And then Claude saw the new warden. It was Sheriff Pike, whom he recognized by the scar on his cheek. Claude immediately told Ray about it. He doubted it, but then on a hunting trip, he suddenly saw his father's watch on the scoundrel. Ray hints that he knows where Pike got this watch, and then hits him in the face, and points a gun at the warden. The fact that Pike has his father's watch proves that it was he who killed Hancock 40 years ago. The old convicts began to fight for a gun, for the right to shoot this bastard. At that moment, Pike pulled out a gun, and Wilkins shot the warden. Ray finally returned the watch so dear to him. Wilkins testified that he accidentally shot Pike while hunting. Wilkins tells the prisoners that he can't give them back their years. But he will sign a decision on their pardon tomorrow. Except he went to the toilet and never came out. He died right on the push. Everything turned out badly for the comrades. 1997. Claude and Ray live in the infirmary. They really spent their whole damn lives in jail. But soon they will come out of here feet first. Old people play poker and joke around. They talk about the fact that some people smuggle drugs in the anus. So if you want to get high, you have to sniff someone's ass. Claude says he has another plan. But Ray doesn't want to hear about any plans anymore. They are already 90 years old. There was a fire in the infirmary at night. Ray rushes inside. His best friend stayed there. And then the building began to collapse. In the morning, the bodies of the comrades were packed in bags. This was the end of Long's sad story. And the plan was as follows. Claude had to steal a couple of corpses from the morgue and set fire to the infirmary. And when the panic started, they would have hidden in a fire truck and, after waiting until morning, would have left. Why do you think it didn't work? I didn't say it didn't work. We see how the sworn friends finally got to the stadium to watch baseball. It was a good plan. It's just a pity that Claude thought of it 65 years later.